I absolutely adore films where an adult becomes a child or a child becomes an adult. And I was quite late to the party with Big. Granted, it was released in 1988, 4 years before I was born. But I've watched it a few times, and I think the first time was about 4 years ago. And I absolutely adore this film. There's one thing about it that I think is a bit creepy and a little bit odd. But for the most part, I think it's great. And IMDb has an overall rating of 7.3 out of 10, which is pretty great and testament to how good this film is. The description from IMDb is one sentence, spoiler-free, and I think it sums it up pretty well. After wishing to be made big, a teenage boy wakes the next morning to find himself mysteriously in the body of an adult. So a child inhabits a man's body. So we have a man with the mind of a child. It's directed by Penny Marshall and written by Gary Ross and Anne Spielberg. Now, this is not the most unique concept. There are a lot of films that deal with this. But what makes this great is that it actually works very well. There are a lot of films that try this and they just don't seem to get it right. They don't get the balance of an adult world and a child's mind. But I think this is spot on. Josh, played by Tom Hanks, finds himself in all kinds of situations with which he is not familiar because he's been a child. And suddenly he has to try and act like an adult, and it's obviously tough being an adult in the adult world, but he still retains a lot of his youthful innocence, I guess most notably in the scene where he's playing chopsticks on the giant piano on the floor. So he doesn't completely change as a person. He's in a lot of odd situations, and it's so fascinating to see a youthful childlike mind viewing the adult world, and so many things that we as adults now take as routine to a child seems really bizarre. And I think we need to let go of inhibitions and just be free and childlike again, but unfortunately that's never going to happen. Young Josh is played by David Moscow, who is brilliant. Obviously he's not in it as much as Tom Hanks is, but I think the casting there worked very well. Susan, who becomes kind of a prominent character in Josh's life, is played by Elizabeth Perkins. I think very well acted, brilliant. Physically the chemistry on screen between Tom Hanks and Elizabeth Perkins is great. But I will say that the relationship between the two, given the fact that Josh is technically a young teenager, is a little bit uncomfortable to watch. But it doesn't make it unwatchable. It's just a bit unusual and questionable, even though not necessarily people know what's going on. The main point of this is trying to see if Josh will actually want to become a boy again or not. He can go to the little fortune teller thing and make a wish and see what happens, but does he actually want to do that, or does he want to stay an adult? And I'd say the outcome's probably pretty obvious, but then maybe not, so I'm not going to spoil it. This has 11 wins, 12 nominations, plus 2 Oscar nominations. It was nominated for the Best Actor, Tom Hanks, and it was also nominated for the Best Writing. It actually won the Best Performance by an Actor in a Motion Picture, Comedy or Musical at the Golden Globes, and it also won the Academy of Sci-Fi, Fantasy and Horror Films for the Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor and Best Writing. So that's actually 4 wins. And I'm just quickly going to see who won the Best Actor Oscar for that year, because sometimes I feel like fair enough. I can see that the Best Actor in a Leading Role went to Dustin Hoffman that year for Rain Man. And as for the Best Writing, written directly for the screen, the winner was Rain Man. So if Rain Man didn't exist, I think Big would have taken both those awards. But it's a great film. It's brilliantly executed. The pacing's fantastic. It's the right level of funny. As I said, a little bit peculiar at one point. Hanks plays a child as a man fabulously. And I am aware that the new musical is coming out to the West End, and I really want to see it. But for now, I will continue to enjoy the film because it's spectacular.